Uncle Mark.
Yes, Uncle Dan.
Listen, I'm having a party over at my house. I hope you'll come to it. I'm going to be selling. I'm going to be teaching you how you can make a fortune selling a product that I think you'll really believe in.
Tell me more.
There's no way you can lose, because here's what you do. You get, 5 or 6 people selling under you.
Sure.
And they get people selling under them, and the money just flows up.
That's right.
Shut up and take my freedom.
Right? Exactly.
It's like a triangle.
Yeah.
It's like like a dodecahedron.
Scheme. Yeah, it's like a building that's fat on the bottom and skinny at the top.
Something like that.
Yeah. Kind of pear-shaped, but more straight lines.
Yeah, exactly. You've heard of those, right, Uncle Doug?
I have, and I'm here to talk to you about that today. Well, dear uncles, last week we reviewed the many cults we have covered in the past few years, searching for insights that might help guide us through our current unpleasantness.
I feel like we didn't really land where we needed to with that, which is just that Donald Trump is trying to turn us all into the anthill gang.
Exactly.
I feel like we didn't get there.
I think that was one of the main takeaways. I think the other two takeaways from that were don't be in a cult, and man, there's a lot of cults.
And call you dad.
Yeah.
In fact, we have covered so many damn cults that I have forgotten about cults that were my own segments.
Totally.
Cults, yeah, I mean, they often share so many traits and trajectories that they can blend together and slide down the memory hole. And such is the case with the cult I'm going to talk about today, NXIVM.
The cult of fighting heartburn.
Yes, exactly. Not to be confused with the proton pump inhibitor used to treat heartburn. NXIVM. Yes. That's spelled capital N, capital X, capital I, capital V, capital M. It looks like the date of a football game.
Or one of Elon Musk's children.
You stepped right on that goddamn joke.
You didn't tell me.
Not to be confused with Elon Musk and Grimes' baby. Was it XAEA-12?
How do you say that? How do you say that name?
Apparently, it's pronounced Ash, because you don't have to be in a cult to be stupid.
However, you don't think Elon Musk is in a cult, huh?
Well, I think he would if he could. However, if the alternative was being named Grimes Musk, this baby probably dodged a bullet. So, NXIVM is really only notable because it's currently in the news, and not for any good reasons. Mostly from a pair of New York Times articles chronicling the cult's undoing. Other than that, the twists and turns of this story are so predictable and familiar that I defy anyone to remember them next week, including me.
Wow, I'm looking forward to this now.
I'm in.
So NXIVM and its founder, Keith Raniere, definitely looked at the menu of past and present cults and borrowed heavily from Mormonism in particular, but especially from Scientology. Not so much the theology of Scientology, but the tactics in how to manage their members. So, born in Brooklyn in 1960, Keith Raniere quickly got into the self-help and get-rich-quick schemes that abounded in the 1980s and the 90s. In the early 90s, he created a business called Consumers Byline. I don't know if you guys even might remember this. It was kind of big for a while.
I don't.
What was it?
It ostensibly helped members find bargains. Like, you became a member and they would put you on the scent of, cheap this or cheap that. This is pre-internet days, right?
Yeah.
But it turned out to be a pyramid scheme, so egregious that Raniere was permanently banned from working in that field in New York. Undeterred, he founded NXIVM in 1998 near Albany, New York, with Nancy Salzman. It is one of the many stated positions of this podcast that one should always be weary of movements that get their start in upstate New York. The company was a personal development company that offered executive success programs, or ESPs, which, for a price, were designed to help members take control of their lives and achieve success. Sound familiar?
It feels like it should be merged with Trump University.
Yeah, it's so Trumpy. It didn't take long for certain cult-like behaviors to show up, though. In order to take the classes, one had to be invited by a member and then fill out an extensive questionnaire that NXIVM people would use to pinpoint weaknesses and weed out skeptics. Sound familiar? During these ESPs, members would put recruits through vigorous interviews, drilling down hard on past experiences and traumas, and recording this information for future blackmailing purposes.
Yeah.
God.
Sound familiar?
They're just Scientologists, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really wannabe Scientologists.
Boy, that's a bad place to be in life.
Right.
Right. When your business
wish-
when you're like, what business model should we emulate? I don't know. How about LRH?
Yeah.
Right. Up to 16,000 people enrolled in NXIVM classes over the years, but the vast majority of whom took only a couple classes and moved on. And among that population, there were some significant figures, including former Surgeon General Antonia Novello, and reportedly Richard Branson took a couple NXIVM classes.
Wow.
But
Because what that guy really needs is some business instruction, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
So many
He's
people
been
continued
limping
on.
along for so long.
Right. A lot of people continued on with NXIVM and became consumed by it, cutting themselves off from their families and turning over their life savings. NXIVM was particularly interested in recruiting trust funders and celebrities. Sound familiar? Yeah.
Jesus.
Among the celebrities recruited were some minor TV stars such as Linda Evans, Nikki Klein, Grace Park, and Allison Mack.
Did you know that Linda Evans also belongs to the Ramtha cult?
No shit.
To PC Knight's cult?
Ugh.
Yeah. She was the one she was yelling at during that drunk tirade.
Oh, that's
kidding.
right.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, and these are all pretty B-list celebrities. I mean, Tom Cruise and John Travolta have very much been spoken for. Allison Mack, the last one I mentioned, was actually a star of a TV series called Smallville, if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
And she will factor pretty prominently in what follows. The cult of personality around founder Raniere and Salzman began to take shape. During ESPs, he was to be referred to as Vanguard, and she was called Prefect.
Wow.
Prefect.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. He started to dress and grow his hair out like a guru, and he claimed that, amongst his personal mythology, he claimed that he spoke in full sentences by the age of 1, mastered high school mathematics by 12, and taught himself to play concert-level piano by 16. Sound familiar? Their belief system was pretty thin gruel. Mostly it was an amalgam of New Age, self-help gobbledygook. They recited a 12-step mission statement written by Vanguard, in each ESP. Here's just a couple of these 12-step points. I won't read them all. They're ridiculous, but here's some bullet points. There are no ultimate victims, therefore I will not choose to be a victim. Success in my own right is my earned success. Okay.
What?
True success is never at the expense of others. And
That's nice.
Wait, are we doing a thing about Deepak Chopra now? I thought we were talking about Vanguard.
It's all a derp circle.
Yeah.
And then the last one I'll read is, a world of successful people will be a better world indeed. Okay.
Wow.
Thanks,
Okay, great.
Vanguard. Yeah.
The depth is really it's not to be fathomed.
It's
real head scratchers.
there was not a lot to this cult. But as adherents continued to go deeper and deeper, things started to get weird. NXIVM began to gather intelligence on local politicians in case they ever needed to blackmail them, including New York Governor Eliot Spitzer, New Jersey Attorney General Ann Milgram, Senator Chuck Schumer, and Roger Stone, among others. What? Wow. It seems that they aspired to the political mischief of Scientology's Operation Snowflake, but never really got off the ground.
Huh. Snow White, not Snowflake.
Oh, yeah, whatever. Correct me on air. Jesus Christ.
Well, you were wrong.
Cody,
What are we
fix this.
supposed to do?
They worked hard to prevent their members from reading unapproved news sources or interacting with their families. Sound familiar? Raniere even founded his own news organization to spread propaganda to his members, which he humbly called the Knife of Aristotle.
Oh, fuck off. Oh, that's amazing.
So, as Raniere developed his belief system, other strange things. I know, right?
That's amazing.
Under his leadership, his higher up started doing some strange shit. One higher up member named Dr. Brandon Porter would take to strapping women to a machine that recorded brainwave activity and then showed them horribly violent films of real people actually being murdered and dismembered, and then
my
recorded
God.
their brain activity.
What?
Yeah, weird shit.
Can I make a prediction? I'll bet they didn't like it.
Yes, that's pretty safe bet.
Jesus.
Yeah, and before anyone gets afraid that we might veer into anthill kids territory, don't worry. What comes next is bad, but not anywhere near that bad. Ranieri did start talking about past lives, and he claimed that many of his higher-up followers were reincarnated Nazis.
Oh, my God.
Well, he was a reincarnated Nazi hunter.
What? What sense does that make?
Wow. No less a place in the history of man than that.
Exactly.
Amazing.
I love that. You go, oh, he's going to tell me who I was in a past life. You were Heinrich Himmler. Congratulations.
Exactly, yeah.
What?
I know, it's strange.
Herr Goebbels, is that you?
Truly, I think one of his higher-ups was Goebbels. Anyway,
Fuck.
all of this cult-like behavior served to fleece the hell out of the members and to groom women for Ranieri's sexual appetites.
Oh, shocking.
And this really all got out of hand when in the early 20-teens, actress Alison March, remember her, started an organization within NXIVM called DOS, D-O-S, which stands for Dominus Obsequious Sororium, which is supposed to be a Latin phrase meaning master over slave women,
What?
but isn't. I know, right? Because Dominus does mean master, but obsequious in Latin means obsequious.
Right.
And sororium doesn't mean women, so whatever.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, there was this.
I got to tell you guys, if you hear me yell bingo at any time, my cult bingo card is lit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
right?
checking all the boxes.
I'm
It's
going
so
for
dumb.
blackout.
There was
Yeah.
a lot of slave master mentality in this cult. So
Hot.
once a woman was sufficiently brainwashed and isolated, she would be selected by Mac and others to be initiated into this cult within a cult. And they would be stripped naked, held down on a massage table, and branded with the initials of Ranieri.
Wow.
This branding was just above the hip and was done with a cauterizing iron and could take up to 30 minutes
Oh, my God.
of
Damn.
excruciating pain.
You need a better brander.
Yeah, right? How about just a brand?
Yeah, exactly, and it's
Fucking
a
get a-
cauterizing iron. It's like a soldering iron.
Like
you know?
I'm good with my hands. I could be in and out 15 minutes.
The scar that was left behind was grotesque, and it further isolated these women from the outside world for fear of having the brand discovered.
Yeah.
And then these women, of course, would then be sex slaves for Ranieri. By 2016 and 17, the pressure from enough former members and families of current members caused a federal investigation, which led to the arrest of Ranieri in 2018 on several charges, including sex trafficking and conspiracy to commit forced labor. In that same year, Alison Mack was arrested on similar charges, and at this point, the meager house of cards fully collapsed. In 2019, Nancy Salzman, who was one of the original founders, pleaded guilty to racketeering and criminal conspiracy. Dr. Porter lost his medical license because of his experiments. At this point, at least 14 other NXIVM leaders have been charged with crimes ranging from racketeering to sex trafficking, and their cases are wending their way through the legal system as we speak. So as of today, NXIVM has basically ceased to exist. The cult's assets have been seized, its leaders imprisoned. It doesn't even have a website anymore. And dear uncles, I wish that sounded familiar.
Right?
Yeah,
There
that's.
you
I mean,
go. I mean, you're absolutely right that it's a little bit shocking to hear
Yeah.
the system actually work.
Yeah, and they dismantled this thing soup to nuts. So
really.
yeah, so
That is amazing. I mean, there was obviously barbarity and you know, probably a spectrum of sexual crimes, but a cult came and went without a body count, right?
yeah. There appears not to have been any fatalities. I might be wrong. I couldn't see any associated with this. That no suicides are directly linked. But
I was
yeah,
going to ring.
a
I was
weird
going to
cult.
ring the big first time a cult didn't end in mass death bell that we have here at the How to Heretic, but we don't have that bell.
Yeah. I forgot
Time
to
to
get
smelt that bell.
That's
Yeah,
on me.
That's crazy. I knew a little bit about these guys, but it looked too much like, you know, it looked too much like a Silicon Valley story to me, so I never really read it.
Which it truly was. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
It was based out of New York, Vancouver, and parts of California. But yeah, so long
Amazing.
NXIVM.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's put them in the graveyard of the whatever.
I'm actually loving it. Let's move on from there.
It's a hopeful show today.
Sure.
Yeah. Woohoo!